Hello and welcome to Metal Vice, a podcast where we talk about all things music.
Well, the things we care about.
Right, which is mainly metal music and live music. And today we're going to talk about just those things, metal music and live music. But in particular, we're going to talk about Amon Amarth coming to Chicago. This was part of their Great Heathen Army tour, the tour named after the album by the same name. This was on November 26, 2022,
Yep.
so the day after Black Friday, the Saturday after Black Friday. And it was at the Aragon Ballroom. We've been there before, seen a few shows there, so it was interesting to go back. We'll talk a little bit about that probably later on in the show as well. And their openers, starting from the first opener all the way up, we have Cattle Decapitation, Obituary. This is our first time seeing both of these bands.
Yeah.
And then Carcass was the main opener, which this was our second time seeing them because they filled in for Mastodon on Ghost.
Yeah, with Ghost, yep. So we saw them earlier this year.
Yeah, not that long ago, really.
No, yeah, it was like September, I think.
I don't know. It was
Yeah,
cold.
no, September, yeah.
I remember it was cold walking to the venue.
Oh, really?
I felt cold. Anyway, but yeah, it was like late fall, early fall. Like,
Yeah, it was probably one of the
wasn't
first
summer.
cold days that we
Right.
had, so it felt cold, but it was probably like 60.
Yeah, and I mean,
And today was 20.
and it
so-
was cold this day too. I mean, it's
Yeah.
November, so.
Yeah.
November in the Midwest, cold. Prices, we paid $39.50 for the tickets to this, with $16.28 in fees, and then $5.33 in tax.
Yep, so that's 50%.
Yeah, with tax and fees, that's
Yep.
over 50%, which is out fucking outrageous. Like it.
Yep. I know, it always makes it seem like the concert doesn't cost that much when you think about like a $40 ticket, $39 ticket. It's like, oh, that's not bad at all. But then, I mean, we talk about the fees all the time, but
Yeah, no, that price is good.
Yeah.
$39.50 for these
Yeah.
bands.
yeah, for 4 bands too.
Right. Like you see that and it's like that's good. I like that. I mean, we went to go see Ghost and where we saw Carcass. And I can't remember what we said it in that episode, but I think the tickets were like maybe almost $100 or something.
Yeah, like 90 something.
Yeah.
Because I was really surprised at how much it was for that small venue.
So $30 to me, $30 to $40 is that sweet spot for me of like these are prime ticket prices.
Yeah.
And I mean, most of the bands we see are typically around that, especially these smaller venues like this. Like that's what I expect to pay most of the time.
Yeah. Which helps us see many more shows
Right.
when they're $40 versus
Right.
$100.
So I mean, like you said, that initial price, that's good. I like that price. But then that 50% fees and tax.
Yeah.
There's not much you can do about tax. It's Chicago. You're
Yeah.
paying
Yeah.
Chicago taxes. There's probably an entertainment sub-tax in there or some shit like that. But even the $16.28 in fees is just goddamn ridiculous.
Yeah. It makes the price so much more. But anyways,
Yeah.
we'll complain about that every single
No,
concert
yeah.
unless the fee is 5% or something.
Yeah, and I mean, everybody complains about it. Everybody's
Yeah.
fucking fed up with the goddamn fees.
Yeah.
They're ridiculous. So, I mean, I don't know. I'll keep bitching about it until somebody fucking fixes it, but it's bullshit.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, the show was at Aragon Ballroom again. And as we said, we've been there before. Lamb of God was the last time we were there.
Yep.
It was a mixed experience for me.
This time?
No, that time.
Oh, with
at
Lamb of God. Okay.
I think I said it during that podcast. If I didn't, I meant to. I've never really had a good experience at
Yeah.
this venue.
I think we talked about all the bad experiences, which...
And I mean, I've been here just maybe one or two more times more than you.
Yeah.
Maybe three. I don't know. But I've been there a few more times than you. So you never experienced the coat check fiasco that typically happens.
Yep.
Where this time, like I said, it was cold. So we took our coats. We were going to do the coat check. And yeah, so I mean, we kind of went in like, fuck, this is Aragon. It's going to suck. The venue, not the music, not the live performance is going to suck. The venue itself is going to suck.
Yeah, I remember asking you a few days ahead of time, like, hey, it's going to be cold. Like, are you okay doing coat check so I don't even have to deal with
Well, I think you were even
the
like,
crowds?
let's not even take coats. Let's take sweaters and just
I
like
did
wrap
say
them
that.
around us.
Yeah. I was like, let's just wear sweatshirts and
And I'm like, no,
deal
I'm
with
not
it.
fucking doing that. I don't want to be cold and miserable.
yeah.
I'll suffer through that shitty coat check to not be cold on the way home. I mean, just sort of recapping our past complaints. The first complaint I've always had is getting through the security. It was always a fucking joke. So like when you walk through that first line when you walk through those first doors, You're in this sort of inside, I don't know what to call it,
Like a vestibule.
All right, that's I guess
Yeah.
what it's called, a vestibule, whatever, however you
Vestibule?
pronounce it.
I
Yeah.
can't even pronounce it.
And inside there they have like a little circle hut thing. I think that's where like historically you'd go and get your tickets from that little booth, and I think it's still there just for like historical purposes because it is a very old theater.
Mm-hmm.
And then they would split male and female. Like females would go on the left, males would go on the right because you're gonna get your pat down and do all that. And that was the first thing I noticed when we walked in is they weren't doing that.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Because they, so the last time when we went through with Lamb of God, we walked through metal detectors and got a pat down. At least I did. I don't know if you did.
No, I did. And that's what it's been every time I've gone there.
Okay. I can't remember when we went like other times, but anyways, like I remember that with both of them. And we had the conversation, I think, on the podcast about they just need to get better metal detectors where it'll like scan what you're holding or whatever, like the upgraded ones do.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, the whole pat down, like you go through the metal detector and you get the pat down. And I think I bitched about it last time where I had been to a show at Aragon. I think it was an EDM show I went to, and they were patting down. They made people throw out their chapstick because they're like, these are drugs and shit. And I just talked up to like, it's a Live Nation venue. They're trying to cut out all vices. So the only thing you can do is buy their alcohol at extremely high prices. But yeah, this time, no, you hit the nail on the head. Like they needed to upgrade to get the newer metal detectors, and that's exactly what they did.
Yeah. And we just went to Aragon at the end of at the end of September. So it's been 2 months, which is quite a long time, I guess. But so they upgraded to, I mean, like the ones that like the Cubs have that you just walk through and then they have a computer screen that shows that, or a tablet that shows whatever it shows. I don't know.
I think it's just like finding like dense objects and like it's looking for density for like weapons.
Yeah, I did see. So the person that walked behind us, they said they like pulled that person to the side and said we need to check you or whatever.
Yeah, I do remember that as
So
well.
I mean, they are double checking, which Cubs do too. Like I guess the Cubs or Wrigley Field's what I'm comparing it to because we go there often. But they do that as well. Like if they notice something, they'll search further or whatever if they need to check something out. But like we have nothing, so we normally just walk right through.
And I mean, to be fair, this was the first year they had those type of metal detectors at Wrigley.
No, they had them last year.
Did they? I don't remember it.
Nope, they had them last year.
Because I remember taking shit out of my pocket and putting it through that little loopty thing.
Not last year.
Okay, maybe, I don't know.
Just walked right through. Anyways.
Anywho, I thought, anyway, whatever. So, I mean, that was really cool that they finally upgraded that, and
it was seamless to go through.
Yeah, you didn't have the pat down anymore.
Yeah.
It was
there was no line.
No line. You just walk straight through,
Yep.
scan your ticket, and you're in the door.
Yep.
And that was always my biggest headache of like, God damn, are you fucking kidding me? Not only, like I said, go through the metal detector and now you're patting me down. And like, it's just bottleneck after bottleneck.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the theme with that fucking place. And we'll get to it, the coat check. Fuck it. Let's just go right there to the coat check. I mean, nothing else has really changed from that time to this time.
Yeah.
You still go to that front bar or any bar to get your wristband.
Well, before you go to code check, I want to say just the security process made my mental about the concert off to a good start. Yeah, like because there's not. I mean, it's no stress. There's no line. There's no nothing. So it puts you in a better mood going through and getting to the concert.
That's fair. That if you have a shitty experience, it definitely fucks with my mind.
Yeah, because it takes a little bit then to like get into it. It's like you got to put that to the past and then get on with the music.
And I mean, we showed up late anyway, a little late because I mean we went to our normal Kuma's before dinner thing, which was interesting. It was a Saturday night. There was like us and two other tables.
Yeah.
And I think we counted like 10 fucking people working.
Yeah.
But when they have
Iron Maiden,
an event they're hosting and Iron Maiden like right next door, there's nobody working. It was just a little chuckle to us, like something's fucking up with staffing there. I mean, still my absolute favorite restaurant in the city, Kuma's. Definitely like an amazing restaurant. That's where I go for my birthday and shit. Like that's my go-to restaurant. Just the last couple of experiences have been kind of shitty at that one location.
Yeah, but this was fine. I mean, this.
Yeah, no, this one was fine. And
it was
then,
great.
and like I said, and we were a little late to the concert.
Yeah,
We knew we were gonna be, But whatever. That
Yeah.
like we
'Cause
made that choice.
Yeah, so like we went to dinner and then we took transit to the concert. So we kind of, and from West Loop to, what is that? Uptown? Like you have to
Yep.
transfer trains. There's no direct route to get there. So
Yeah, and I mean, and that was on us. Where the previous time with like Iron Maiden,
it was,
that wasn't on us. It
Yeah.
was on lack of.
yeah, we waited an hour for our food.
Right.
So
So I mean, that put us in a really shitty mood, and want to hear about that? Listen to 4 hours of us rant about that.
Yeah.
But on that episode, but yeah, no, we walked in a little late. I think we split. I took your coat and my coat.
yeah, so I went to got in line for merch, which there was basically no line. I thought people were standing there, but I walked right up.
And that's how it was last time
Yeah.
too. Is there's always, and I have no problem with this at all. Like we do it too. People just gather around to look from a distance.
Yeah.
And then when you watch something, then you just kind of look around at everybody like, "Are you in line? Are you in line? No, all right, I'm just gonna walk."
Yeah,
up.
yeah, and that's how it was. In the one guy, like, or there was a person that was like waving, like basically like, "Hey, I can help you," and I walked in front of the people that were in front of me, but I was like, "Well, I guess maybe you're not ready," or I didn't really say anything to them. I just walked up, so and got my one shirt and left.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things we wanted to hopefully get with merch was a poster.
Yeah, they had them
They don't.
for a couple cities, it seemed like, but
Well, I don't know if they have them. Like,
you don't think that those are posters that they're posting on Instagram?
so that's the thing, right? Amon Amarth posted a couple things on Instagram, right? Like some really cool posters.
Or what could be posters?
Right. They didn't really say it was a poster.
Yeah,
Just like
that's true.
it was an image.
Yeah.
There weren't any posters at any of their previous shows, at least the images I saw on like Reddit and
Oh,
whatnot.
okay.
There were no posters here either. They had their banners like tapestries.
Yeah, yeah.
They did have a scarf.
I saw that and I thought about it.
I thought about that too. I was like, oh, that'd be
Because I
kind
was
of
like,
cool.
you kind of need a new scarf, and I should have got it.
And
I
it's
don't
not
know.
like a scarf. It's like a soccer scarf.
Yeah, and it's just like what is it?
Berserker?
Yes, thank you. I was trying to say Berkshires, and I'm like, wait, that's like in New York or something, or Connecticut.
Berkshire Hathaway, like a hedge fund bullshit thing.
That too.
But yeah, I looked at some of the other merch as well. The Carcass stuff was the same kind of merch we saw with
yeah.
Ghost.
Yeah.
They had their vinyl. I like getting vinyl at a concert, but I don't like getting it before. I would want to get it after.
Yeah.
But then by the time it's over, it's like I kind of just want to.
Yeah, we didn't even stop back by. We just left.
You look as you walk by type thing. So yeah, well, you stood merch and got that. I took our coats down to the basement where the coat check is.
Yeah.
They do have this railing going down the stairs, and they had a little piece of paper up there, but it was all kind of like folded and crumpled, so you couldn't really see it. So I said, whatever, I'm going to go down the right-hand side of this railing. And as I'm going down, there's an employee down there, and she's like, oh, you're on the wrong side. The other side's in. This is out. And I was like, oh. And I just like ducked under the little rope they had to get over there, and then went and dropped my coat off, and then went up on the outside and called it good. We went up to the venue. By this time, the band was playing.
Yes. Oh, they were playing when we walked through the door, because I heard them when we walked past the alley.
Yeah, they were, exactly.
Yeah,
So it
so-
was one thing, and this was Cattle Decapitation that was
Yes.
playing.
Yep.
So we made our way up, and I think you said right away when we get to the top, is like, it's packed.
I don't think I said anything. I think I just looked at you like, oh, wow, it's packed already. Because not generally, I shouldn't say that, but oftentimes when we go to concerts, it's like when you first get there, if it's started already, like it's not that full yet. Like people trickle in for the headliner. But when we got there, it was like all the way back to the back bar already. Like
The whole floor.
Yeah, the whole floor was full.
like the dance
Yeah,
floor area.
Yeah. Well, it's all general admission, so
Yep.
it was all full. So
Yep. I think once again the VIP is up on the balcony.
yeah, I
that
think
you
so.
have to get up
Yeah,
to.
yeah.
I mean, you're right. Like, and I'm the same way you. I don't want to say generally. It's
Yeah, it's hard to say, but
But-
oftentimes.
I would say the vast majority of the concerts we've been to in our life, the openers don't necessarily draw the big crowds.
Right.
However, this last year, I think that's where I've been seeing a lot more people show
That's
up
true.
for the openers.
That's true.
And maybe it's just going, the whole COVID thing and not seeing shows forever where people are like, fuck it, I'm going to see everything, every second of everything I can see.
Yeah. Well, and also I'm going to use the last two concerts that we saw at Aragon because it's easy to kind of judge floor space and everything. Like when we saw Lamb of God, the opener was Suicide Silence, and that floor was packed already for Suicide Silence. Like I'm sure people trickled in, but it was packed. And then for Cattle Decapitation, it was already packed.
And that could just be the
bands,
right? Because we also saw this year Flog and Molly there, and it was empty for the openers.
Yes, yeah. I can't remember who the opener was, but
I can't either. Some British
school rock band. That's all I remember.
Yeah. No, it was
I don't know.
What's the word I'm looking for? Oh, some British reggae ska type band.
That's true. I forgot about the reggae aspect to it. Yeah.
And then it was the Interpreters or one other band. I can't remember exactly.
There might have been another band and then the Interpreters. I can't remember.
But I mean, up until the Interpreters, it was pretty.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say not packed, but there was room to move.
There was plenty of room to move. Yeah.
Where here, you're right. There were bodies everywhere by this point in time.
Yeah.
And we weren't even that late. I think we missed maybe 1-2 songs of their set.
It wasn't much. Yeah. Like probably 2 songs.
Yeah. And then we made our way down around the alley.
So.
Alley. Go ahead.
So when we saw Lamb of God, we kind of stood on stage left. Like there's a little section by the bar that's on that side. And you can just step down into the crowd. So when we saw it was so full, I think that's when I turned around to you. And I don't know if I even said anything, but I think I motioned like this, like go around and go in. Because I was like, I remember with Lamb of God, it was really easy to get into the crowd right there. So I was like, even though it's so packed, I don't want to stand at the back right now. Like, let's go around to that side and see if you can kind of sneak your way in. And sure enough, we were able to do that again.
Right, like the dance floor is a giant oval, right?
Yes.
And on the perimeter of the ovals, it's like this raised, I don't want to say walkway, but like this area that you can walk.
Yeah, basically or you can stand or whatever.
The pillars holding up the balcony are like there.
Yeah.
It's like almost any ballroom we've been to. I'm thinking of
the Rave.
Yes, the Rave, the big room they have.
Yeah.
It's the exact same thing, right?
Yeah.
Where that outside edge is exactly what you were describing.
Yeah. Where it's just one step down.
Yep.
It's not.
Yep.
A big, or like a lot or whatever.
And that's a good point you made. It's like you walk along that until you find an opening.
Yeah.
And you can get pretty decently close to the stage by doing that.
Like we could see the rail when people would walk away or whatever. So
yeah.
I mean, we were pretty close.
So that's where we went.
Now we just gave away our secret, and now we're never going to get that spot again.
I'm sure it wasn't much of a secret.
I know. I'm just joking.
Yeah, this was the day after Black Friday, and I fucking hate Thanksgiving with a passion. And I usually just drink heavy stouts all day to like get me through the goddamn day. And then you get up Black Friday, and you go get more Bourbon County Stout and start drinking that as well. So I don't want to say I was hungover. I don't feel like I was that hungover.
Oh, really?
But like my stomach was not feeling well.
Oh, you said that. Yeah.
At that point. And we just got back from Kuma's. So like I went and got water because I figured you always want a water. So I got a glass of water and ice. I can't remember what we charged, but I felt like it wasn't that much for
really?
water. I feel like it was like $6.
For a water or for both?
For a water.
Or did you only get water that time?
I only got water that time. And then after Cattle Decapitation, I went back up and got a beer and another water. And that's all we bought that night. But even that was still under $20 with tips and everything, right?
Oh, that's not bad.
I remember it being so much more last time we were there. Like $18 for a beer, like pre-tip or some shit like that. So I don't know if prices went down or what, but I felt like prices seemed cheaper. And I could be completely wrong. Maybe I was just a little out of it, and I don't know. Need to look at like the credit card receipt.
Yeah, I was gonna say like I didn't look at the credit card from last weekend, but from before, I always thought it was like 19 something that would settle on the credit card.
Yep.
Every time you would buy a beer.
Right.
So that would be with tip.
Yeah. So I'm venturing it's around $18 right now with a beer and a water. So that should be cheaper than, and it's the same beer I got last time too. I always get like the Bear Hug thing, like whatever IPA they have. So that was just one thing I noticed. Didn't get many more beers, mainly because I knew I didn't want to be leaving. I didn't want to go to the bathroom constantly.
Yeah, because you do have to go downstairs to use the restroom. I
Yeah.
don't think they have I don't think they have a restroom upstairs.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. They might upstairs, like in the VIP. We've never been up there. I've never been up there.
I've been up there and I'm trying to think if they do. I don't think they do.
Oh, that kind of sucked then if you have to go all the way down.
But I could be wrong.
We'll have to try to do
I'm
VIP
50-50
once.
if it is or not.
Yeah.
But yeah, I knew I didn't want to have to go to the bathroom. I wanted to like stay there because I was super excited to see Amon Amarth. But I mean, Cattle Decapitation. What were your thoughts from hearing them?
I mean, we only heard like 2 or 3 songs because they're the first opener, so they only played for like probably 25 minutes or 30 minutes. It was okay. I honestly I can't really remember any of it, and so in my mind it wasn't very memorable. So it's not that I didn't like it because it was fine. It's not memorable to me. Or memorable to me.
That's true too. I would say the same thing.
Like if I heard it on Spotify and you didn't tell me it was Cattle Decapitation, I'd probably be like, "Who is this?"
And we hadn't seen or listened to their music beforehand.
Right. So we stopped doing that, like when we go see bands. Yeah. So. Which
I like, but I don't like.
I know
because of this exact reason.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I don't know their music, so I don't know if. So I'm basically going in fresh and be like just listening to see if I like it.
Yeah.
And not really doing much more. Like I'm not really enjoying the music.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's how I feel about Cattle Decapitation. It's like I remember liking it in the moment, but then it was just like, oh, the moment's over now. It's not like something because we've seen openers this year that we were like, oh, we really, really like that. Now it's one of our top bands. And this just, I don't know.
Yeah, and it was fine. It wasn't horrible. It wasn't
Yeah.
the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
It was perfectly serviceable as an opener.
Yeah. I can't tell you any of their songs or anything that they played.
Yeah.
But.
I mean, we'll listen to them a few more times.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if we see them again in a show, we'll check them out.
Yeah.
There was nothing wrong with the band. I think and I'm not even dissatisfied with them, right?
Yeah.
Same thing we were saying earlier is like we're there listening to the music fresh, trying to determine if we like it.
Yeah.
And I remember liking it.
Me too. And that's what I'm trying to say is like I remember liking it. I just don't. It wasn't that memorable to me because now I can't even pick out anything about it.
But we've added in the playlist. We'll listen to that on the playlist.
Yeah.
And then after like 3 or 4 listens, we're like, oh, it's this song of theirs I love that I want to hear.
Yeah. And that's generally sometimes what happens is like we listen to it later and find something that we enjoy. Do you remember, I have a question if you remember if it was them or if it's Obituary, but did they have the world map behind them? Because I know that they had their 2 tapestries on the side.
I don't remember any of them having that.
The world map?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was like an entire world, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. If like at first I was like, oh, maybe that's for Amon Amarth, like for their background, but then Carcass had their own backdrop, and then Amon Amarth did not have the world map, but because it was like I just remember when Amon Amarth announced the tour, it was like the world map, and then it like there were red dots where they were going to tour. And so I was like, oh, it'd be really cool if that went into this. And I'm pretty sure it was up, but I can't remember if it was during.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
Oh, really?
I don't remember seeing that, no.
Oh. Yeah, I just can't remember if it was during Cattle Decapitation or if it was during Obituary. So, anyways.
Yeah, I don't know either. I don't remember that. We have photos, a couple. We'll see what we can see in it. But yeah. I don't want to gloss over Cattle Decapitation, but I mean, like we said, they were good. We enjoyed them. We need to listen to more of them, and we will listen.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
to get better. And this whole conversation has made me rethink live music a little bit because, and we'll get to with Amon Amarth, is it's like, I want to hear this song live. And you get super pumped. And if that song starts playing, it just amps you up so much more.
Yeah.
Going into a band, never seeing them is sort of like, what's their stage presence like? What's their songs sound like?
Yeah. And I think that's how I judge it, is off of how their performances, like there's what you said, stage presence. And then if there's one song that's catchy that I catch on to, like using Wage War as an example, I know I talk about them all the time, but Circle the Drain is the one that like got me to be like, I love this band. And now I love almost every song. I don't know a song that I don't love of theirs. So it's like, with Cattle Decapitation, though, none of that, like, there wasn't that one moment where I was like, I need to go buy this album. Because even Whitechapel, when we saw them for the first time, like, we bought the album that night.
Yeah.
Because I liked it.
Yeah, no, and I mean,
those
are great points.
Yeah, like, and I get what you're saying. Like, if we would have listened to them ahead of time, you know, we would have caught onto something and been like, oh, I hope they play this because I like this song. You talked about it when we saw Machine Head, like their new album. You really like one of the songs. They didn't play it. It would be the same thing of like, you either get disappointed that you didn't hear it or you get excited because you know the song that they're playing.
Yeah, but I also like going in fresh.
I know.
And just being like,
I know.
You mentioned Wage War, and I'm not the biggest fan of Wage War.
I know I said the word we in there.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
I
love their energy on stage. I think they play fucking hard and they're awesome. And I think their live set is heavier. To me, it feels heavier than the actual music. When I listen to the music, it's like, but so, I mean, I do enjoy that, seeing a band and how they are on stage. I do remember Cattle Decapitation having a good stage presence.
Yeah, I would agree.
And that was great. But the same thing you said is we didn't know the songs. So we'll check them out again. We'll keep listening. Nothing negative to say about them.
Oh, no. Yeah.
But
I'm sure next time we see them, we'll know more of their songs.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because listening to it.
At least they got us, right? As an opener, like, all right, this is something I want to see more of.
Yeah.
Unlike some other bands we've seen this year, not naming names, where we're like,
where we don't add them to the list.
That's fine.
Yeah.
But we don't need to seek them out anymore. This is one that we will seek out.
Yeah. And you did add them to the set list, right?
Yeah, we did add them to the set list. And I don't know if we've talked about it. We'll talk about the year-end review.
Yeah.
And that will probably be the first time
I think
we talk about it.
Mention it.
We mentioned the playlist, but we don't ever like talk about what it is.
I guess we could share it.
We should share it, also.
Because this is not going to be published before we publish the year-end review.
If not, go back and listen to that episode if you're jumping to this one.
Yes.
That's where we'll talk more about it.
Or check out our Instagram.
Or that too.
I'll post it there.
Yeah.
At the end of the year.
Any
hoodles.
But you also mentioned Obituary. They were the next band that popped up.
Yep. Yeah.
The first thing you pointed out to me when we were there was they had a floodlight on the roof.
Oh, right. I forgot about that. Like a bat signal.
Right. But it said Obituary. It was their symbol.
Yes, I forgot about that aspect of it. Yes.
And I was like, oh, that's really cool. They're just getting it set up for the band. They're going to bring that down and do something with it. No, that stayed up there the entire show and did not. Yes. Well, it moved like it would jiggle.
Yeah.
But it didn't do anything. It was there on the roof.
Yeah.
Why? Or the ceiling, not roof. On the ceiling. Why, I don't know.
But it was cool.
I enjoyed it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And all these bands are death metal bands.
Yeah. Well, we don't want to get into genres because I'm sure somebody will be like, oh, no, it's not death metal. It's metalcore. There'll be some
sub-genre of something, right?
Anyways, it's heavier metal than like 80s thrash or anything like that.
I would definitely call all these bands death metal.
I would too. I personally would too.
The one thing, and death metal definitely isn't for everyone. I get that. I get why people don't
listen to it.
They should, yes, I agree. But I get why people would be like, this isn't my thing. Anywho, what I'm trying to get to and what I'm trying to say is death metal has the best font and imagery ever.
Yeah.
And this is what that bat signal was for
Yes.
Obituary. It was just the name Obituary, but it was the O on the left, because that makes an L, because you read left to right. And then you had the Y, and it made just a giant circle.
Yeah.
And inside the circle was Obituary, but it was the outside of the circle was the O and the Y.
Right. Right.
And it was like
that's their logo.
that's so fucking awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just remember that and thinking like, fucking death metal rocks when it comes to font and imagery.
Yeah.
You don't always know what the fuck it says, but
Exactly.
it looks badass.
Exactly. Like, so I listened to a podcast, and the male on the podcast is into metal music, but it's like death metal. So they have merch for their podcast, and he's going through like making merch in like what he would consider like a girly way, and then also like a death metal way, and I think that's really cool.
So I mean, that was the first thing I remember about Obituary.
Is the bat signal?
The bat signal, yeah. And then it's a very similar vibe to Cattle Decapitation, where great fucking energy on stage. Went in fresh, didn't know a whole lot of their music.
Yeah, I don't know their music at all, I don't think.
But I enjoyed them a little better, I think. I don't know why. I think I
Yeah.
just enjoyed the music itself a little bit better.
Yeah.
Not to like shit on Cattle Decapitation at all, right? Like their music was great. I just enjoyed this set a little bit better. And maybe it was we were there for the entire thing.
Exactly. That might be also where like Cattle Decapitation, we came in the middle. So it was like, we only heard like 2 or 3 songs, maybe 3 or 4 songs, I can't remember. And then, but with Obituary, we were able to see the whole set.
Yeah, and I enjoyed the entire set.
Yeah.
I enjoyed everything. I kept looking up at the bat signal and seeing it like move as like the crowd was jostling.
I never looked up again after they started. I was just watching them. But that's cool that it stayed up the whole time. I should have looked up now.
And like that's a good thing too, right? Like the crowds were into both bands.
Yes.
The crowds were having a great time.
Yeah, yeah.
And like that can make or break a concert as well, not just the music or the performance, but if the crowd's not fucking into it, like who gives a shit how good the music is? And the crowd was fucking into both of these bands.
Yeah, I think I liked Obituary a little bit more because they had a little bit more, I'm going to say depth to the music. That's probably the wrong word, and somebody's probably going to be like, fuck you for saying that. But, and you could say what word I'm trying to think of, but they had like a thrashy death metal sound. So they had like the thrashy like guitar riffs and stuff, but then the songs were like death metal. So I feel like that combination of the music really picked it up for me more than just the death metal sound.
Gotcha.
Like, do you understand what I'm trying to say?
A little bit, I think.
Like, depth is the wrong word, but
it just it cohesively melded together a little better.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to gather. I'm not putting words in your mouth or anything.
Yeah. No, I wanted you to put a word in my mouth, the word that I'm trying to think of that makes sense. But just combining the two sounds together, like really
Yep.
made it more memorable than Cattle Decapitation. Again, I don't know any Obituary songs. I haven't looked at the playlist the set list that was added to the playlist, but we will definitely be listening to more of that.
But yeah, Obituary was great. I had a great time seeing them. You did too, I assume.
Yeah, of course.
Same thing with Cattle Decapitation. Both enjoyed seeing their sets. They were awesome, and definitely music we're going to check out again. And being a band we've never really heard of or listened to ahead of time, that's great. It's a new band, new music for us to dive down into, and I'm happy about that. But then we get to Carcass. We have seen Carcass before.
Yes.
And they were in that same slot that these two bands are, right? Like the time we saw them was the very first time.
Yep.
Same thing.
The headliner.
We weren't even expecting to see them that night.
No, we didn't know. We thought we were seeing Mastodon.
But it turned out that was a great performance by them.
Yeah. So when we saw them at the Rush Center in Green Bay with Ghost, they put on an awesome fucking performance. The sound in the whole venue sucked. So getting to Argonne which we talked about with Lamb of God. So listen to that if you want to listen to us bitch about Argonne for probably an hour. But when we saw Lamb of God at Argonne, the sound fucking sucked. But then listening to Carcass, or the entire concert at the Argonne this time, I had no problems with the sound system.
Neither. I did
And
not
so-
have in either.
So basically what I was trying to get to is saying, seeing Carcass, even though we had just seen them a couple months before, like, this is the first time we actually got to, like, hear them in a good way that's not, like, on Spotify.
You mean a good live way?
A good live way. Yeah, like hearing their set live and the sound was good. Or, like, the sound was proper and you could hear the singer sing, you could hear the guitars, you could hear the drums, you could hear everything cohesively instead of only hearing guitars, because that's all we heard at the Rush Center.
Yeah. I kind of want to go back to the Rush Center. I want to go back to Green Bay. I want to experience that. I think it'd be fun. We talked about it during that show of like, it was a little disappointing, blah, blah, blah. But looking back a few months later, it wasn't the worst thing ever.
It's still on
But
my worst list.
But the sound was definitely off, as you pointed out. And you're absolutely right. The guitar was very overpowering during almost everything. The other thing I remember about the Carcass performance at the Rush Center was just all the beer bottles on the amps.
Yeah.
And I remember before this got started, when it was about to start, I like tapped you and was like, see how many beer bottles you can count.
Yep. I counted them.
Did you? How many did you count?
1 can and a half a cup of beer.
I was going to say the same thing. There weren't that many this time.
No.
Last time there were so many fucking, I swear to God, they were like,
I
there's
think
a
you made that
six
up.
pack.
I think you made that up.
They had so much.
That would be really shitty for venues if the venues made the bands buy their own beer.
Oh, from the venue?
And at the Rush Center, everything was like super cheap. And then at Argonne, it's like almost $20 a beer. So then they're like, fuck this. No, I doubt if bands had to buy their own beer.
I don't think so, because at the Rush Center, they had glass bottles that they were drinking out of.
Oh, okay.
They didn't have that here. But
Okay. Anyway.
As soon as I told you that, and I was like halfway through the show, I was counting too, and it was like, there's two containers up there. I was like, I swear to fucking God, there was so much more.
See, and I didn't see it at the Rush Center, so somebody might be making this up.
No, I don't think so. But we, so we did mention that, right? Like we mentioned a couple of times that this was our second time seeing them. We saw them at the Rush Center.
Oh, did we mention that?
Here. I don't think we may have. I don't know.
I think we might have seen them in
so
September.
Just in case, we saw them in September at the Rush Center with Ghost. That was our first time seeing them. And then we saw them again this time. What were your thoughts this time seeing them?
No, I thought I just said that, but I enjoyed it so much more because you could actually hear them.
Hear the whole thing.
Again, even though we did see them, I've listened to them a few times, but I still don't know their songs that well. And when I say that, it's not like Amon Amarth or like a Lamb of God or something where like I can sing along or I can, I don't know the words. So, and I know lyrics mean nothing to you, so you probably could care less. But I even though we've listened to them over the last couple of months a few times, like I'm still not there yet. And also they never spoke, I realized.
They did not, no, yeah.
So I remember that being a surprise in Green Bay, is that I didn't realize that they were from
the UK.
And until he spoke. And this time he never said anything.
Like outside of the singing.
Not
interacting with the crowd.
Yeah, he sang and stuff, but there was no thank you for, or give it up for these bands or whatever. So they just performed.
And not that I don't care about the lyrics. I enjoy the instruments more than I do the lyrical aspect. The
Sorry,
singing.
I probably shouldn't have said you don't care.
Yeah, I do enjoy the lyrics, but the thing I gravitate to the most is definitely the instruments and the music itself. And I guess lyric and vocals are definitely a music and an instrument in and of itself. Not the one I care the most about. I enjoy it, but at first, like we said, it's the instruments, how it all flows together, and then the last thing I focus on is the lyrics. But no, this definitely sounded better at this venue this time around, seeing them the second time. I was excited to see them again. I went to add their stuff to the playlist.
Oh yeah. Did they have more?
Everything that was on this show was on already.
So it's the exact same set list.
Probably, yeah. But no.
I think when they performed with Ghost, that was like their one show.
It was, yep.
So they didn't have like a tour going on or anything. So they probably just utilized this set list from this tour for.
It seemed very last minute to have them pop
with
on.
Ghost.
Of being like, oh shit, we need somebody. Who can we get? And like, oh, we'll do it.
Yeah.
And that's probably a good point, right? They were gearing up to do this tour. They're gearing up to do something. Go ahead, get into the.
I was gonna say a memory that just popped in my head.
Oh, go ahead.
That they didn't unplug their amps when they walked onto the stage, which in Green Bay they unplugged their amps. I think you saying like, oh, they're gearing up for this tour. I was like, oh, maybe they used Ghost as like a practice session, and then remembering that they unplugged their amps.
No, it wasn't that they unplugged it. Is they had a technical issue, I think, of like, like an amp didn't work or a cord didn't work, so they had to come back out with a new amp cord or something.
Oh, I thought that they like tripped it when they walked out.
Maybe that's what happened. I don't know, but it was something along the lines of like, all right, let's get going, and then the guitar was like, I'm making no noise. We had to figure this out. Yeah, he's like strumming, like there's nothing coming out of this, guys. There's, I forgot about that. There was that little mix up. Yeah.
Anyways, that has nothing to do with this concert, but
I mean, yeah, it could have been, that could have been, we've got a show coming together. We've got our shit together. We've been practicing. Let's just go out and do that.
Yeah. But that is kind of weird that they played the exact same songs instead of.
I don't know about the order or anything like that.
That's true.
But just adding.
But you didn't add a new song.
Trying to add like this song's already on. Do you want to add? This song's already on. Do you want to add? So.
Yeah.
I will say, I agree. I think it sounded better here than it did at the Resch Center. But I enjoyed the performance at the Resch Center that they put on.
Yeah.
So much better than this one.
So this performance, I feel like they just, I don't want to say they just stood there because they didn't, but they kind of just stood there and played their instruments in their spots.
I don't know. Like,
are we remembering it correctly? Because
I don't know. Like, I just remember the feeling being different at the Resch Center. Yeah. And the only thing I can think of, and it goes back to maybe all those beer bottles that I swear to God I fucking saw. Of
they didn't have as much energy.
No, not that they didn't have as much energy, but we're not supposed to be here.
Oh, they were on vacation.
These people don't know us. They are not expecting anything from us, so we can just fuck off and do whatever we want.
Maybe
because they don't give a shit about us. Because also,
I don't know if they wouldn't. I don't know if it would go that far, or it's like this is our one night that we get a tour or that we're performing, so we can drink, we can have fun, we can do whatever we want to do because it's not like tomorrow we have to get up and do it all over again.
That's true too. That's
why I said they're on vacation. Like,
this the last day before the summer break of school.
They're on holiday in Wisconsin.
But I mean, it's also a different. Every band at Amon Amarth this time was death metal. Who was at Ghost? It was Spirit Box and then
Carcass and Ghost.
Yeah, like Spirit Box and Ghost, not necessarily anywhere near death metal. So it's one of those things like the crowd's not going to know us anyway, so we have nothing to lose just to go have fun. I guess that's what I was trying to get at.
I really hope that no band ever has that thought of like nobody knows us, so we're just gonna go fuck around and perform.
I don't know. I kind of like it.
Okay.
Of just being like, there's nothing to lose. The only upside is our happiness and potentially one or two more fans. And I would rather have a band that doesn't feel like they have to put on a show, that they're just there having fun themselves.
Oh, okay. I think I'm understanding where you're going. I thought you meant like nobody fucking knows us, so we're just gonna fuck around.
We have nothing to lose by playing this show.
I understand what you're saying.
We're just
Okay.
gonna play it to have fun.
Okay.
Where at Amon Amarth and Cattle Decapitation and Obituary, this is a death metal scene. We need to put up the death metal face type thing. I don't know. We haven't been to enough death metal concerts to like know that. And once again, this is me pulling shit out of my ass. I'm like, maybe this is why it was so different. But I felt like it was night and day difference between Ghost and this show.
I would agree, and maybe that's why I feel like when I'm thinking about them performing, every time I think about it, I flash back to seeing them in Wisconsin and not seeing them at Argonne.
Yep, same.
Even though Argonne was like 4 nights ago from the time that we're recording this versus Wisconsin was 2 months ago.
And I mean, the sound was so much better.
The sound was better. And I remember during the first song, I was like, thank goodness it sounds like it's not just, you can't just hear the guitar. Like it sounds good.
And this isn't to say like they didn't put on a good show at Chicago. They put on a great show.
Yeah. It was just different.
It was just a different vibe, which is kind of, I don't want to say weird, but it's an interesting dynamic that a band could have, in my mind, in my experience, such a different feel to it.
Yeah. And I know we bring up the crowd feel a lot. For all these bands, we were outside of like the center, so we were not in like the pit area. And also I felt like during Carcass, it emptied out a little bit. Like,
oh, really?
Like not a lot, but I'm just wondering, like around us, I remember it emptying out. That's when I remember seeing like the rail, like you could see the rail because like people weren't right in front of us and stuff. And I just wonder if it was like everybody went so hard for Cattle Decapitation and Obituary that they like went and got beers or went and got, like right before Amon Amarth, so that they could be up there for Amon Amarth.
Yes, exactly. That's the thing too. Is like, all right, this is almost not that this is almost over, thank God, but it's like we're getting close to the end of this, which means Amon Amarth is coming up.
Yeah.
And I want to be here for that.
Yes, I want to be here in this spot at the front of the stage. So I need to leave during Carcass so that I can get back. And we've done that during bands.
Oh, we have, yeah.
Where we're like, hey, we're going to go run now to go do everything we need to do so that we can come back.
Strategic. Like, you're just playing the game at that point, right? Of like, where do I want to be and what do I need to get done?
Yeah. And I mean, especially if you have to use like the restroom or something, like you're going to do that during a band and not during the break because otherwise it's.
Or the merch line was fucking crazy long. I've done that before. Like, we go in the middle of an act. Like, all right, I've seen this. I'm done. I want to see the headliner. Let's grab my merch now.
Yep.
So, I mean, 100 reasons. That's a good segue into Amon Amarth, right? But one other thing before we get there.
Okay.
You pointed this out the next day of you looked up to see what Carcass was doing in 2023 if they're touring.
Oh, right. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I keep interrupting you every time that you bring up a point.
No, this was your point anyway, so bring it up.
So when the only thing Carcass did say that I remember them saying anyways, like through the whole thing, is like, this is our last song. We'll see you next year. And that's exactly how they said it.
It was like, we'll see you in 2023, right? Or was it, we'll see you next year?
We'll see you next year.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, that was the end of their set. So then between that and Amon Amarth, I think it was during that or the next morning. I know we had this conversation already. I can't remember exactly when I did it.
It was on the way up to Lakeview the next morning, so yeah.
Okay. So the next day I ended up, no, because I was driving.
But you can still talk while you drive.
Oh, I think you meant when I looked it up.
No. Well, you told me we had the conversation.
Oh, sorry. But I looked up to see if they announced their tour. And they have a couple things announced, but not a tour back in Chicago because, I don't know, I think it'd be cool to see them again.
Oh, I 100% want to see them again.
So, I mean, if they're coming back to Chicago, and we're around, we'll definitely be buying tickets again.
Yeah,
so.
for sure.
So maybe by the time this is posted, they've already announced.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe.
So.
I mean, but yeah, I'm excited to see him. Like, I didn't take it as like, hey, we have something in the books. Like, we're going to be here for sure.
Yeah.
But I think it's more, I took it more as we fucking love Chicago. We're coming back next year to play. Even if it's some random asshole in the wall, we'll show up and we'll play.
Possibly.
Like, but I don't think it's going to be a random asshole in the wall.
I feel like they have something going on. Yeah.
I do too.
Like, a lot of bands now are release. I don't know if they have an album or not coming out, but they're releasing stuff. They're touring again. Like, I mean, we've seen it where we're back-to-back weekends because so many bands are touring at one time. So, or back-to-back nights with these two concerts, Machine Head and Amon Amarth. It was back-to-back.
Yeah, I think their last album just came out this year.
Oh, okay.
Like with The Heart. No, that was 2021. So maybe they're working on new material and it'll be out.
Or they're doing their own tour for that album or something.
And that could be too, right? Like,
who knows? We're just pulling shit out of our ass of what could happen.
Yeah,
so.
I'm excited to see it though. I would love to see them again. And just get another feel because like we said, 2 different shows. I felt like it was 2 different vibes from the band.
Yeah, I would agree.
But I enjoyed what they did both times, and I want to see them again.
Yeah, I would agree.
But you brought up Amon Amarth.
Amon Amarth.
Yeah, so Amon Amarth. This is actually our 3rd time seeing them.
3rd time, yes.
We saw them last time for the Berserker tour or whatever in support of the Berserker album. I don't know if it was the Berserker tour.
And that was like just across the block.
Like Caddy Corner. It was at the Riviera.
At the Riviera, yes. Yeah.
That was our 2nd time seeing them.
3rd time.
No.
Oh, sorry.
At Riviera.
At Riviera, yes.
2nd time seeing them. The first time was Open Air 2017.
Yes. Yeah.
I knew nothing about this band at that time.
No, me neither.
We went there because I think Stone Sour was next. Or Lamb of God was next.
Lamb of God, I think, was next.
And yes, Lamb of God, then Stone Sour, then Ozzy.
Yep.
With Slayer
so we stayed
in between.
We stayed on the field the whole.
So it's like, we want to see Lamb of God. We don't know who this Amon Amarth, whoever the fuck they are.
We did call him Amon Amarth for like 6 years.
I mean, I did up until like a week ago.
Up until this podcast, probably.
Yeah, probably.
But it's hard to change how you say the name for so long. I don't even know how I knew it was Amon Amarth. I think I heard somebody say that. And then I looked at the spelling and I'm like, oh, I think it is Amon Amarth.
It's kind of like people are like Ramstein. And they're like, it's not Ramstein. But then when you hear Amon Amarth and you're like, it's not Amon Amarth. And then you look at it and you're like,
oh, it could be.
Oh, no, they're right. I'm wrong. I'm the Ramstein person now.
Yeah. I mean,
But at the same time, whatever. People know what the fuck you're talking about when you say it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, anywho, we went there not to see them, but to get decent spots for Lamb of God.
Yeah.
And I think we walked in to Raise Your Horns. And like that's where we found our spots was during that song.
So I remember 2017, the Headbanger tent where they would sell beer.
Yep.
And did they have pinball machines and stuff?
They did. They had like the Kiss, the Metallica, AC/DC, all the metal themed pinball machines. So it was the fancy beer tent with pinball machines.
So in there, they were selling the horns as a cup.
It was like a plastic horn. Yep.
Yeah. And not like the horns like what they use on their stage, but so they were selling those as a cup. And I remember that, and I was always like, that's kind of weird. Like, why are they selling those? And then I think you're right, where we did walk on to the field, maybe not during Raise Your Horns, but that's the one song I remember. And I just said earlier in this podcast that there's always like one song that gets me into a band, and that's the one song that like I remember from them.
Yeah, so I remember that too, getting the horns. Like you can buy a horn.
Yeah.
And maybe it was like the horn is a 20-ounce glass for 16-ounce prices, whatever it was, right?
I don't know.
And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. But at the same time, I was like, it's a weird-ass thing to be carrying around.
Yeah.
Like it's not a glass. It's kind of got the pointy thing. You're going to poke somebody's eye out with that shit. And then they give you like this little lanyard you put on and hold it. Like, nah, I'm not about that. But yeah, we walked in to see Lamb of God, and there they are. The motherfucking drummer, his drum kit is on a goddamn boat.
Yes.
Or was it a boat? I think it was a boat.
It was a boat then. Yes, yeah.
And I was like, what in the fuck is this? Yeah. And I don't know if it was Raise Your Horns. Also, I don't know if that's what it came down to.
I feel like we saw more of the concert than Raise Your Horns.
We saw a lot of the concert. I did. But I don't think Raise Your Horns was the closer at the time. I guess that's what I was trying to get at.
Okay.
Maybe it was. Because I also remember the Way of Vikings, where they bring out the two Vikings to fight.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember seeing that. And I just remember the music was fucking awesome. And then the stage presence and then the performance of like, they fucking rocked hard on the stage.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they're putting on a killer show. Two motherfuckers out there fighting longswords together. The drum kit on a boat that I swear to God, and I could be making this up, and I'm just putting it in my head, that the drum kit jostled back and forth, and I think fire shot out of the nostrils of because it's a boat, right, that has like the serpent coming up.
Yes, I know what you're saying.
And then flames throwing out the nostrils of the serpent.
I feel like I remember that too. Obviously, they didn't do that at Riviera.
I don't know. Did they? I can't remember.
I don't remember flames.
I don't know.
But I
distinctly remember that.
Are you making that up, or did that actually happen?
I don't know.
Because now I feel like I remember it. But then again, it could be just because you're saying it. But
I remember from that point forward at open air of being like, this was a band. And this is why I love openers. This is why I love going to like festivals too, right? Festivals is like, we found out about Avatar just on a whim. Like, let's go check out what's over here.
Let's go get lunch. That's what we did with Avatar.
And
we went and got lunch and sat down. And then I was like, we got to go down to the field.
No, it wasn't at all. Because I thought it was a different band. And like, we walked in and like, we stood there. Like, we didn't sit down or anything, I don't think.
No, we ate lunch in the stands and sat down. And then like, while they were playing, and then like, I want to go down to the field and watch them.
Oh, I don't remember that aspect of it.
Okay.
But if you do, like maybe I just remember standing on stage, right? And there being nobody there and them up there and Johannes with the gas tank drinking out of it. That's really the only thing I remember from that show. So I could be wrong. I could be missing the middle ground, which is what you remember and whatever. That's why two people adding one story together. But still, right? Like, that's why I love this shit, because Amon Amarth was the opener, or a opener. A band were like, let's just go check it out, see what it's like. And it was fucking awesome. I loved it so much. Which is why when they came back for the Berserker tour in 2017, 18, 19, whatever year it was.
Probably.
So 17 was when we saw them.
Yeah.
So 18 or 19. Yeah. Saw them at Riviera, loved the venue, loved the band, had a great time. That was also the first time we saw Arch Enemy.
Yes. Yeah. That's what I was going to say. I remember Arch Enemy a lot.
Yeah. So it was like, and they were an opener for Amon Amarth, right? Like, we found out about them because of like going to see the openers. So like, I was so excited for this show when it came around because of those two other times.
For this year?
Yeah.
Okay.
For this year.
Yeah.
Getting back, like, just,
yeah.
That was how we found out about this band and why we're here.
Yeah. So I remember, so originally we were going to have family come into town for Thanksgiving. So I was planning on not doing anything all weekend. And I remember when they announced this tour. Like I said, I remember the announcement, and it was like the world map. And then it was just descending on red dots of where they were going. And that's before they announced, like, Chicago. But, like, I was looking at the map, and I'm like, they're going to be in Chicago.
Right, and it wasn't, like, state lines or country lines. It was just, like, land masses, right?
Yep.
So you kind of had to guess, like, this might be where they're at.
Yeah.
Chicago's pretty easy because you're, like, right on the lake.
Yes,
on, like, the south part of the lake.
Yeah, so I knew that they were going to be in Chicago or around Chicago because the red dots were, like, all over the place. And so I remember texting my family member, and I was like, hey, so are you still coming? Because we're probably going to buy tickets for a concert. So, it turned into a great weekend, even though we didn't have family in town. But
yeah, no, I mean, even if your family came in, I was going to see this show.
I know. They go to bed early, so we would go to the show instead.
Amon Amarth is one of my favorite bands right now. I'm just going to go out and say I was going to wait till the end, but no, I fucking love this band so much. Yeah. So fucking much. The music is fucking killer. It's so good. And then you get the live performance.
I know. I think the live performance really seals it in for me. because the music's great. Like we, as soon as they came out with the new record, like I know we put it on right away or whatever. But seeing the live performance really does it for me.
Yeah, and they came out to Guardians of Asgard for this show.
Yeah.
And it's like that's a catchy song.
It is,
like,
yeah.
The chorus, like, we're the Guardians of Asgard, and like the whole crowd chanting it, like,
yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. I know. As soon as I didn't even say this yet, but I know I told you that night, and I think it might have been before Carcass, but I felt like the night went by so fast. And I don't know if it's because we were enjoying it so much, or, again, we were excited to see Amon Amarth, and we didn't want it to be over sort of thing. But I just felt like it went by so fast. So when they took the stage, I was just like, in my mind, I'm like, oh, it's almost over.
See, I'm a little bit the opposite.
Okay.
The night up to Amon Amarth seemed to drag on for me.
Oh, really?
And this could be sort of my thoughts and like we said, we enjoyed Cattle Decapitation, we enjoyed Carcass, we enjoyed Obituary. I really, really, really did enjoy those, but I really wanted to see Amon Amarth.
Mm-hmm.
So the more they played, the more I was like, this is what I'm thinking, is like, I just want you. To me, that felt like it dragged on, and I wanted Amon Amarth to come on.
Okay.
And then once they came on, I'm 100% with you. It was over in the blink of an eye, and I did not want it to be over. And I felt like so I agree with you, but I disagree with that. Like, the first half seemed to drag for me.
Oh, okay.
The second half blew by so fast.
Okay.
And then, but once they took the stage, it was, like I said, it blew by for me. It was come out to Guardians of Asgard. And then I completely forgot about Raven's Flight as the second song.
Yeah.
Because right after that was Deceiver of the Gods, and that's where Loki. Like and this goes back to the stage performance, right? If they have Loki come out.
Yeah. And I remember when that happened, and I was like pointing to you. Like, because I saw the eyes in the corner come out before the character actually came out. And I was like pointing like, hey, like there's basically get your camera out.
Take pictures.
Yes, pretty much. You're a picture person.
And this is not Disney Loki.
No,
this is like
yeah.
a Viking version of Loki. This is a bulky motherfucker in battle armor.
It could be a version of Loki or a...
Oh, I think it is a version of Loki.
What
it's just not the Disney version.
A mutant. No, not mutant. What did the Loki show on Disney Plus, what did they call?
Oh, variant.
A variant, yeah.
That would be funny if they pull in Amon Amarth's version.
Yeah, that'd be so funny.
As one of the variants. That'd be really cool.
Yeah.
But that just goes back to the theatrics that go into it. Like, that was the first little bit, and all it is a motherfucker dressed up in clothing with some smoke and some lights, and let's go out and have fun. I said we skipped over A Raven's Flight, or I kind of forgot about it, but now thinking about it, I somewhat remember it because we talked about the drum kit on the boat.
Oh, right,
beforehand. Right. I did notice, and kind of seeing the before, knowing whether the drum kit's on a different thing, I was really hoping for a boat again because of put your back into the oar.
Oh, right.
Like, oh, that'd be badass.
Yeah.
If they have oars that pop out and start rowing. Like, I was like, oh, that'd be fucking awesome.
But it was on like a Viking helmet.
Yeah, it was basically like on the head of a helmet.
Yeah.
But the eyes were screens.
Yes.
And at Raven's Flight, they had the raven.
Oh, I didn't see that.
They had ravens flying out of the eyes.
I didn't notice that. Yeah. Oh, that would have been... Man, I wish I would have seen that.
So, I mean, I glossed over, like, I forgot about that song, but at the same time, now that we think about it, I remember that.
Yeah.
Then a couple songs later, we get to The Pursuit of Viking. I remember this the first time at the Riviera.
Okay.
And I love this song live because I am a sucker for audience participation.
Yeah.
Creeping Death comes out, I'm out there fucking chanting, die. Like, I love that shit so much. If I spoke German, Ich will for Rammstein would be my favorite goddamn fucking song. But So like, yeah, audience participation. I love that. And the lead singer, I'm gonna get the name wrong. Johan Hegg, I think is his name.
I think so.
Is the first time we saw them at the Riviera, he comes out and he's like, "All right, now it's your time to sing." He's like, "The word, who knows the words?" And half the audience says it, the other half doesn't, or maybe it was more. I don't know. But then he's like, "All right, you need some help." And now I'm flustered, so I
I
can't.
know. I can tell by your face.
I want to say I do. It's Odin, guide our ships, erect our spears and swords.
Yes.
Like he comes out and he says that, and
Yeah.
like there's more to it, and he says that, and he's like, "Now it's your turn. Say it again."
Odin, guide our ships.
Right, and the
erect
crowd,
our spears and swords.
and the crowd sings it. He's like,
Yeah.
all right, that's good. You can do better. And it's that normal audience participation of like, I can't hear you.
Yeah.
But you
yeah.
can. They're
Yeah.
fucking loud, but you just want to get them louder and hyped and more.
Is before the I can't remember where he does it, but when he's sorry, I interrupted you completely, but was it before this where he just stands there and then he's like, "Guys, how are we doing tonight?"
See, I don't know when the first part was. Yeah.
Okay.
There.
And nobody screamed, but then
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't think that was. I mean, that could have been before this. Like, but that was a dead moment between songs where he's coming out to hype up the crowd. This whole audience participation thing I'm talking about is like during the song.
Yeah, but what I understand that. What I was trying to bring up is I feel like when I don't want to say there was a lack of audience participation because there was a lot of audience participation through the whole concert, but there was a lot of dead time where I would, or maybe it was just I couldn't hear because we'd been to 2 concerts and my hearing shot already, but like where I expected to hear a lot more audience screaming or participation or whatever, I didn't hear.
There were a few moments of that where it was
Okay.
like he'd come out and just stand there and it would be quiet, and then he'd finally start talking, and then
So
people
that's what
would talk about.
I was trying to say. Like that's why I apologize for interrupting you. Is I couldn't remember if that was before this or after this, because if it was before this, it's like, oh, nobody was really. Well, I mean, Guardians of Asgard, people were singing.
See, I think it was after this.
Okay.
Because I mean, I don't think there was a pause up till this point, because maybe there was. I don't know. No, there was.
Oh, it was right before the Great Heathen Army, I think.
No,
it was right before this because the Vikings.
It was Odin Owns You All, because he comes out and he does like Odin Owns You All, which is the title of the song.
Yeah.
So there's that. But I guess the whole thing I'm trying to get to
go ahead.
With this particular song is he comes out and he does the lyrics and he gets people going. He's like, "Oh, you can do a little better. Try again." Like, "Oh, yeah, that's good. All right, now it's your turn. We're going to start playing. You go ahead and do this." And remember, it's death metal, so nobody understands what you're saying anyway.
That was during At the Riviera.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
That's always during.
I see, because I was like, I don't even remember him saying all that here.
That's always during this song.
Okay.
That's sort of, like I said, it's the audience participation. You expect it after like a song. Creeping Death from Metallica, there's that part where you chant and die, and you know where it's going to be, and you know that's what's going to happen. And he doesn't do it, but the whole crowd sings it anyway without him prompting anyone to do anything. But the thing I wanted was him to come out and be like, Johan to come out and be like, it's death metal. Nobody understands you anyway. Of just being like that message in and of itself of like, we play this music for our relatives, our parents, and they're like,
you can't hear him singing.
You can't, I don't understand what they're saying. I don't understand it. And it's like, but it's you. Like that whole thing.
You don't have to understand it.
You don't have to understand it, but at the same time, you can if you just stop and listen. And also, like, who cares? Like, there's the instruments, there's music, there's the show. There's so much going on outside of picking up that one word, you know. So I always thought that was like, oh, that's a fucking awesome message. I love that. And of like, have fun, enjoy. Who gives a shit? And I was happy the crowd was up there chanting, singing the song they were supposed to. a little disappointed that we missed that moment of call and response type aspect. That's the one thing with that song that I was super, super excited for. And we've talked about this, with the Night Before Machine Head on a different podcast of, you can play for fucking 3 hours, but if you don't do the one thing I want you to do, I'm going to be upset.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was one thing I missed out on. I wish they would have done. But at the same time, you could tell when he was up there, he's like, I don't need to get out here and talk to you guys. You guys know what the fuck to do. Which is also very enjoying to see.
Yeah. I was going to say that, where I think I don't even know how to say this in a nice way, but I think it's better when you don't have to explain to the crowd to sing a part or to do a part or whatever, do the call and repeat or chant and repeat, whatever you want to say, and they just do it. Like, Metallica doesn't come out and say, okay, now during this one part, you're going to scream die. Like, people just know to do it.
They do. And it's kind of cool to see, especially the people who have been there doing it. Like, I remember this with the MTV Icons. I think Metallica was the last one to get that award. And they come out there and play, and they start doing Creeping Death. And all of a sudden, you just see the crowd, without hesitation, chanting, die, die. I knew what to do because I was a fan, and I had, in particular, got the Binge and Purge box set. But during that, I do love James's interaction with the crowd. It's the second song, I think, on that particular live set they did. And it's not even the chanting die, it's the little bit before he gets to that part where he's like, you're in for a long and noisy night, so you better start making noise now. You're chanting. Like, that aspect of, like, all right, let's go. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Let's get it up. Let's get it up. Let's go. I get what you're saying, and I agree that it's awesome when you go to a show and you don't have to tell people what to do, right? Like, that's awesome.
Yeah, but I guess then you also have to remember that to somebody at this show, this is their first show.
It is, yeah.
So either first time seeing them or first time being at a show altogether. I don't think Amon Amarth is the first show aspect, but a show is always somebody's first show.
That's very true too.
Yeah.
To counter that, not disagreeing with you, I 100% agree with you, and that's why you do the whole intro to every episode the same way, right? That you do like a podcast or anything, it's always the exact same intro because it's somebody's first. The one thing with music, though, is that kids nowadays have that we didn't have, or we had very little of at the beginning, was YouTube and live streaming and people recording shit.
Oh, yeah.
Like, if you went... I don't know. I guess I don't know what I'm trying to say.
I mean, did you YouTube Cattle Decapitation?
I didn't, but
Or
I
Obituary?
YouTubed Slipknot the fuck ton out of it before going to the first show, knowing I was going to get on my knees and jump the fuck up. Like,
yeah, you didn't tell me that my first Slipknot show.
No, I wanted you to be amazed, which gets us into that was Slipknot's thing, right?
Yeah.
Spit it out. Get on your goddamn knees, jump the fuck up when I say jump up.
Yeah.
Amon Amarth, getting back to this show, a little different but very similar, right? Yeah. Why don't you talk about that?
Yeah, so Amon Amarth released a single that is Put Your Back Into the Ore, which makes sense. But in the middle of the song, there's a part where it goes quiet, and I think on this single, like on the recorded part, it starts with row.
Yeah,
row.
It starts with sort of, there's like a horn blowing.
Yeah.
And I think it's supposed to be a silent charge of a boat.
Yeah.
Coming into battle.
Yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah.
But then in the middle of the song, also, like at the concert, everybody gets down on the ground and you sit on your ass and you row with the person in front of you. And like it's amazing to see because like the whole crowd is just rowing. We did not participate. because somebody has old knees and can't get down on the ground. But it is really cool to see everybody get down in the middle of the pit and just start rowing.
Yeah, and that middle of the song also is like the chant of just row,
Yeah.
row. And then it goes with the drums. The drums start kicking in.
Yep.
It's the same beat of like just row. And this is where I went into like, it would have been, in my head, it was like, oh shit. This is where the drum kit's on a ship and all of a sudden rows pop out. And as he's drumming, either fans come on stage or VIPs come on stage and they're sitting there rowing on the boat next to the drum kit. I was like, in my head, like, oh my God, that would be fucking awesome. I don't know. That's just in my head what I envisioned.
Yeah.
But seeing, like you said, the center of the stage or center of the crowd, the pit stopped. Everybody got on the fucking ground and started rowing.
Yeah.
Then there was people around us. There was a wall of people standing, and then another section that wasn't in the pit at all get on the ground and start rowing also.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was fun. I enjoyed it so much.
Like, I had seen it on Instagram, and that's where I told you about it when they did their Europe tour, that they did that. And I think I actually told you, like, don't be in the center of the stage, otherwise we're going to be the only people standing if we don't get down on the ground.
So, yeah, I remember you telling me about that, and then I remember going to see Thrash of the Titans in Iowa City, and we were talking to Jerry and Darla about it, and talking about them like, oh, we're going to go see Amon Amarth later this year. Super excited, and they just kind of like smile like, they're the ones that the fans get on the ground and row, right? And like they've seen it too. And
yeah, yeah. It's like their thing, kind of what you were saying, like with the Slipknot, like spit it out, it's their thing, like it's their thing. For some reason, when before this song came out, I remember on social media them posting that it happened at a concert where people, but I don't think they got down on the ground. I think it was the whole crowd, like you grab the person in front of you and the whole,
like on the shoulders,
like on the shoulders, and like they'd be rowing like they were in a Viking boat, like rowing, or Viking ship, I guess. They're not in boats, but whatever. So I think Amon Amarth like played off of that happened at concerts, and then they were like, oh, let's design a single that goes with the action that the crowd's already doing.
That could be, but I mean, there's got to be a song that spurred that. Like, there's got to be a beat.
Yeah, I feel like when we saw them at Riviera that the crowd did it, but I can't remember.
Yeah.
When. So now I feel like I need to go back to their old social media posts and
try to find where
you
first saw it.
Where I first saw it, yeah. But it's amazing now that it's part of the concert and the fans really get into it. And you know, I'm sure maybe one or two people there like didn't know that they did it, and it was their first. Yeah. You know, like, why is everybody sitting down around me? And then they just sit down and do it too.
I mean, that song itself, I fucking love. Yeah. Like, when the album came out and that wasn't on there, I was very disappointed because out of everything they've released this year, that is the song that I love the most. I love that song. It's so fucking good. I thought that would be the opener they came out to.
Oh, really?
Because it had that quiet horn at the beginning. Yeah. Of just being like, I could just see it going dark and like the fog machine's on, and then you hear the horn, and then all of a sudden you get the crowd going, row. Yeah. Like softly, row.
Yeah. I forgot during this that before, like, they kind of leave the stage for a little bit, and then when they come back, there's like the lights like make it look like it's in water, like you know, like the moonlight on the water, and then you just hear like water sounds of like the waves.
And I think you do get a little bit of that row. So like this is the midpoint of the concert. Yeah. Where it's like, all right, we're gonna take a little bit of a break, but yeah, I think that's now like the start of the mid. So I mean, I'm happy where it fell in, and I'm happy how they did it. But I was going in like this would be a good opener to see. The next song I remember, we touched on it loosely, The Way of Viking. The Way of Vikings.
Yeah, there's a song between that, but...
No, yeah, but this is like the next one.
Oh, okay.
That popped up in my mind of like, okay. And this is the one where they bring out the two guys to fight.
Yeah, this is when he stands there and he says, guys, how's it go? Or how are you doing tonight? Because I only remember the whole banter. And none of the guys, well, some people screamed, but like most people are just quiet. And then he's like, it's not very good, guys. Like, how's it going? You know, it's one of those things where they're always like, I can't hear you.
Yeah.
But then he's like, ladies, how's it going? And like, obviously, all the ladies
that
scream.
part. Yeah.
And then he's like, Vikings. And then everybody screams.
Yeah.
And so that was, I believe, before this.
I got you. Okay.
Yeah.
There were a few moments before that where he would come out and stand and talk to the crowd.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess I wasn't following fully what you were saying earlier, but now I remember that as well, of like the men suck. Like, they can't do what I asked them. Ladies, how are you? And they instantly.
Yeah.
All right.
I didn't scream during either one.
Let's give the men another shot, since they clearly don't understand what we're doing.
Yeah. What every concert does, or every singer does.
Now the men understand what to do after the ladies showed them how it's done. Instead of going back to the ladies and giving them a second shot, it's like, we're all Vikings. Let's go to do this. It was fun. I did enjoy that. But yeah, then it was The Way of Viking, and I don't know. It goes back to the theatrics of the song as well. The music's great as itself, but just the theatrics, two guys coming out and putting on this fake fight to the death type thing.
See, I stopped watching that.
Did you?
Yeah. And then I realized that the guy that probably won or lost, I don't know which one, came back out and grabbed the shield that was on the ground and walked away.
The guy who won picked it up. Because I think the whole thing is they both start with swords and shields. One of them knocks the shield out and then is easily able to take care of the one with no shield and throws him off stage, and then comes out basically to pick up, so then the band come back down and perform. Yeah,
I don't remember if why I stopped watching that. If I started watching the crowd, I don't know. But all I remember is the guy coming back out and like picking up the shield.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, it doesn't matter.
But like, that's one of my favorite songs. Like, when I first started listening to this band, it's what I remember from the 2017 open air.
Oh, really? The fight. Yeah.
The fight, and then Raise Your Horns.
Yeah.
And then that led into another one of my favorite songs of theirs, which was First Kill.
Yeah.
Which, a great song. That whole album of theirs is great.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, is that the album that we kind of got into with them? Like,
I think so, but it also has like Raise Your Horns on it.
It does, yeah.
And At Dawn's First Light.
Yeah. So, but what I was going to try to say is, like, I feel like the first album, well, maybe not for every band, but generally, like, the first album that you, like, listen to, or you get that time period that you get into, like, that's what you like. Or, like, has a lot of your favorite songs on it. Yeah,
that could be. Because this album, the album is that blue one with the Viking on it. It's like Joms Viking or whatever, however you pronounce that. JOMS Viking. Like, it has First Kill, At Dawn's First Light, whatever song that is. And once again, I'm saying this is my favorite album, and I can't even name all this. But Raise Your Horns is on it. I think that's The Way of Viking. No, At Dawn's First Light. It's literally the fucking name. At Dawn's First Light. The Way of Vikings. Like, there's so many good tracks on that album, and you might be right. Like, that's where we started.
Yeah, because it came out in March of 2016. So then, if we saw them in 2017.
Okay, so that's the tour they're going with. They're playing a lot of songs from it.
Yeah,
that makes sense. Yeah.
So.
But I love that album. It's so good, and kind of going into it, when we saw them again, the very next time, it was for the Berserker tour, which, again, one of my favorite albums of theirs, and they have Shield Wall on that album.
Yeah. I have a confession. When he started singing
I think I had the same confession. Go ahead.
Like, because he's like, raise your, like.
Raise.
Yeah, so, like, when he was, like, announced, or, like, between First Kill, right? Is that what the song is?
First Kill.
And Shield Wall, he was, like, he was going into it, and he's like, now it's time to raise. And, like, I got so excited because I'm like, oh, I love this song. And then it was, like, the Shield Wall.
Yes.
And I think I even, like, I started putting my hand up, and I'm like, oh.
Well, I think it was, like, Vikings. It's time to raise.
Yes.
Like, oh, yes, here it is.
Yeah.
I did the same thing.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah, I was so excited, and then I was like, oh. But I like Raise Your Shield, not Raise Your Shield Wall, but the Shield Wall.
Shield Wall.
Because they come out again, like the Vikings come out again to fight, right?
I don't think they do.
Oh, then they just stand on by the.
They might just stand
by
there.
the.
Yeah.
I think they just stand by the drum kit.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I got super excited and I put my fucking horns in the air and was like,
Yeah.
let's go. Let's do this. And then it was like shield wall. And I was like,
Yeah.
You like at that point, it's like, I've already been called out if I don't go full bore on the, but yeah, I thought it was going to raise your horns too.
Yeah.
And
So it's like when you wave at somebody and it's like not the right person, and then it's like,
100%, 100%, because it's like your hands up, like here's the horns, like. I thought the exact same thing.
Yeah.
But this is another song I love. The only song on Berserker that they didn't play that I wanted to was "Crack the Sky."
Oh yeah.
Which kind of goes into Twilight of the Thunder God. It's very similar.
Yeah.
They're both about Thor and his goddamn lightning hammer. Like they're very, very similar songs.
Yeah.
And we'll get into this a little bit later, but I understand why they chose one over the other.
Okay.
Shield Wall, though, I do love that song as well. I love that song so much. It's so good. But it gets in my head again of when I hear it, I was like, oh, it'd be really cool live if this happens.
And what did you want to happen during this one?
So Shield Wall, there's two parts where it's sort of, I'm going to get the music terminology wrong, but it's sort of the chorus of Vikings, raise the shield wall, hold the front line, fight to death. So before that, there's sort of like a lull. And in my head, I was like, it would be really cool if we split the audience down the middle and do a wall of death type thing. But mix wall of death with Red Rover. So you split the wall like you're doing a wall of death. And during that first part, Vikings raise the shield wall, hold the front line, fight to death. That's where the left side charges the right and tries to break through the wall. And then there's sort of a lull after that. And it kind of quiets down. You have a softer melody, softer singing sort of happens, sort of reset. At that point, you then get the walls put back together, the Red Rover walls. And last time it was left, and we do that whole Vikings, raise the shield wall, hold the front line, fight to death. Like you do it again, but at that point, instead of left charging right, you have right charge left. That way both sides get an equal Red Rover trying to break through the front, like trying to break through the wall.
That seems like a lot of coordination.
It does, agreed, and I understand that.
And I feel like people at this point in the concert are not going to listen to directions. And it's just going to be a mass of people running at each other.
Oh, you're not. You're going to have the people who want to constantly run into a wall and try to break through it. So basically you're going to have one person on one side who didn't know what was going on. And then everybody else on the other side. And this is one guy why am I over here alone? And then Vikings, raise the shield wall. And then everybody on one side just charges this one lonely guy. I fucked up.
So, I'm thinking of it. It all happens, but they give instructions on how to do it with all the instructions you gave. And then, when people don't do that and they start moving, he just, blows a whistle. And he's like, no, back in formation.
Like in gym class.
Yes.
So, I mean, in my head, I would like to see that happen. But I completely understand why it doesn't happen.
But that would be a good place if you wanted to do a wall of death or something.
That's true
to
too.
Do something
Just do
that.
a wall of death there. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they have a lot of stuff though that is.
But I mean,
audience
also put your
participation,
back into the oar. It's pretty simple. Just sit on the ground and move your arms.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
So I get why that one requires less movement and less thought.
Yeah.
Than all right, remember what side you were on.
Yep. Now charge.
So, but anywho, I love that song. It's such a great song.
Yeah.
And they fucked us with. Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
Nothing.
I was gonna say they fucked us with the whole Vikings raise.
Oh, at the beginning.
The shield wall, and then you do that, and then they come out, and what do? Fucking raise your horns.
Yeah.
But they do their typical. They come out, all of them, with their horns full of beer, and they chug their beer down, and then they go into the song.
Yeah. I thought that, what's his name?
Johan.
Johan.
Johan. Johan. Johan.
Sorry, we're really bad with names, and that's why we don't use names very often. But the horn he had was really cool because it like it was huge, and then it like came up and.
It was also translucent. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yeah, you could see that.
Like you could see the liquid as he drank it. And I thought they wouldn't do. The first time we saw them do that at Riviera, I was like, no.
I don't remember that at Riviera.
There might be something, but we were also like straight back. We were on the side.
Yeah.
This time we were on stage left.
Yes.
Where like the light behind him or on the other side of him on stage right was like you could see through it. But yeah, then they played Raise Your Horns, and like I said, that was either the song we walked into, or maybe it wasn't, but it was one of the songs I remember from the very first time we saw them, and I love that song. It's so good.
And before Machine Head went on the night before, they just have like the music playing or whatever. But Raise Your Horns was one of the songs.
Was it really?
Yes, I sang it to you. Yeah. So I know we were in a really bad mood the night before, but like we sang it together.
I guess I don't remember.
And I remember looking at you and being like, tomorrow night, we get to hear this.
I vaguely remember that now, yeah.
Okay, now it's all coming back to you.
A little bit.
This is like the second or third interaction that we're talking about that we had, and you're like, I don't remember that. So I have a feeling you don't pay attention when you're around me.
That's possible. Or short-term memory is starting to fade. Before we get into the last song, or now,
we're almost there.
Before we get there,
okay.
I don't know when it happened, and we talked a little bit about the neighborhood. It
didn't happen.
Uptown, right?
Honestly, I don't know where the line is, but I would say Uptown or Ravenswood.
Is it Ravenswood or is it Andersonville?
No, not Andersonville.
Where's Andersonville? Is that pretty near this?
It's over. It could be near that, but it's over. It's the neighborhood next to where our friend used to live by the triangle thing.
So yeah, I'm very confused on the neighborhoods and where they all are and where they all fall in line. It can be super confusing in Chicago because like you'll be in Lakeview but in Boys Town, which is no longer Boys Town, but still in Lakeview type thing. Or Wrigleyville, right, which is in Lakeview also, I guess.
Yeah.
But
technically.
Yeah.
Boys Town and Wrigleyville are technically
like sub-neighborhoods in a neighborhood. But I guess what I'm trying to get to is I can't remember what Johan said when he came out. He's like, we love Chicago, not just because of X. And he named a neighborhood. And I can't remember if it was, I swear to God, it was Andersonville.
Yeah.
And it made me think like, Amon Amarth is a Swedish band. And I don't know if they have a huge or a large Swedish population in that neighborhood also. Sort of like Ukrainian Village is a large Ukrainian population. I think Chicago...
Andersonville combines Swedish roots and small-town charm in the city's newest and hippest stores and restaurants, according to Bing.
Bing, God damn it. There we go, okay. But he did mention that. Like he's like, not just because you have a Swedish neighborhood.
So now I want to go up there. Let's go right now.
Things are closed. It's late on a school night. But during that song next, I don't know if you noticed. Once again, the drum kit's on the Viking head, right?
Oh, it's still there.
It's still there. It did not move. But the eyes, as we talked briefly about, not a whole lot, but briefly about, that they were like television screens or like whatever screens they use.
They're television.
Yeah, they had 80-inch flat screen TVs behind.
Nobody calls it a television except for your grandma.
Oh,
not your grandma, but grandma's.
So maybe I'm old. I don't know. But anyway. It was like it was a screen of some sorts that played moving pictures on it.
Moving pictures.
Yes. And this particular moving picture was the Swedish flag.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you noticed that, but go ahead and make fun of me all you want about my goddamn televisions.
I didn't notice the moving flag picture thing.
In the eyes.
In the eyes.
I thought that was cool. That's all I was trying to get at is I saw that. I thought that was kind of cool. Sweden's got some fucking shit going on where they produce nothing but amazing goddamn music. I don't get it.
Yeah,
So many fucking bands come from Sweden.
I don't know where they got their bloodline, but
There's
the
something
bands are
there.
awesome.
And then we get into the last song, Twilight of the Thunder God, where they.
Which was disappointing.
Why?
Because it was over.
Yes, that's true. That was disappointing. But I mean, going back to the theatrics, right? They brought out the Kraken.
Yes.
And then he had this giant fucking hammer, and he's beating away at this goddamn Kraken.
Yeah. Johan's really strong, because he really... that was the part that I was going to mention earlier when you were talking about, like, the Thor Thunder God, or Thor hammer. Because, like, he has he walks out with a hammer, and then he just, like, whips it off the stage.
I'm venturing it's a blow-up hammer.
Oh, I think so, too.
Oh, I didn't know if you knew... How?
You think he just has a sledgehammer that he whips off the stage
That's
like
what
that?
you were playing, and I thought like you were shocked at how strong he was.
No, it was a joke about how strong he is.
Gotcha. No, I enjoyed that. Like I said, it's a very similar song to "Crack the Sky."
Yeah.
Of like, but I love the chorus of that so much. Like Thor, let your hammer fly, and crack the fucking sky. Like I love that so much. I was really hoping to hear that. We heard it last time, I think, because it was on the Berserker album. They're there supporting that. But you know, Twilight of the Thunder Gods is a classic of theirs, so it's how they end. And
yeah, it's one thing that I mean, I think we've talked about it before. That or just you and I have talked about it. But like when a new album comes out, they have to weave in those newer songs, and then so it obviously they have to push out some of the songs that you liked or you saw last time, which is good because then it's a different set list.
Yep.
But then also you have those little teeny tiny disappointments of like, oh, I wish that they would play this, or I wish I would have heard this or something. But then next time we see them, since the Great Heathen Army won't be the new thing anymore. I mean, they might have a new album. I don't know. It might be the newest one, but then they might be able to, keep one song from that or whatever, and then weave back in those older songs.
Yeah, and maybe it's not even one song from that album because, put your back into the oars, not on the goddamn album.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
like,
That's true.
Odin owns you gets fucking cut for the goddamn oar. So, I mean, yeah, agreed. It was the end of the night after this song. It was sad.
Yeah.
They came out, did their bows, threw their shit out into the crowd. They seemed like they genuinely enjoyed themselves. The band members, all of them seemed like so happy, which is great because everybody in the crowd was fucking happy. So like it's just fun to see a band come out and like that meant a lot to us. Thanks for doing this, and it felt genuine when they did it. As I guess I've read that now they talk about it, I think almost every time I see that it seems very genuine.
Yeah,
the band's.
I was gonna say I don't remember one single time where they're like, thank you, now get the fuck out.
Here's my shit. Take it. It's all covered in sweat. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you. I don't know. I was so happy. It was a great performance. I don't know. I fucking love this band so much. So much. And
yeah, I can't wait until they come back again.
I
feel like we've been saying that a lot lately, like where we're like, oh, we can't wait for them to come back, but
yeah,
we really can't. Or if we see them somewhere else next year.
Yeah, it was so good, and I was so happy, and such a great time. And the lights come up, and they're doing their shit right, and they leave the stage, and then it's like, oh, that was so awesome. But fuck, I have to go get coats now. I have to go down to goddamn coat check, and it brought you back to center. Like we're still at the goddamn at the Aragon, and we had to go pick our shit up. I fucking hate this venue so much. And we hung out upstairs for quite a while.
We let it clear out
as we could.
Well, because so when we saw Lamb of God, sorry, we should have ended this. We should have said all this before and then ended with the awesome concert instead of talking about the venue again. But when we left with Lamb of God, I did not enjoy it at all because it was like cattle going to slaughter, basically. Because you're going down these two stairwells. Because that's the only way to get downstairs that they allow the public anyways. And it's like you're just all being funneled down, and like you just get pushed, and it's dark, and I don't know, everybody's just rushing to get downstairs for some reason. So this time I knew I didn't want to do that, and I knew that we needed to get our coats anyway. So I was like, let's just hang a little bit. And we hung out front for a long time, but then I swear I saw a guy come with like a flashlight, like doing the whole like get moving, but people stayed up there for a long time. So
Yeah, that's normally how it works, right? Like, all right, we got to clear out. Let's get going. We did go to, maybe it wasn't Lamb of God, maybe it was Flogging. No, it was Lamb of God because we left early for Flogging Place. But they were like, all right, you got to get going. And they were pushing a little more aggressively than they did this time.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, you haven't been there for coat check before. And I know how big of a pain in the ass it is. We hung out at the top, like you said, a while. We typically do that. We hang out and let things kind of clear out as much as they can before leaving ourselves. But then we went down, and it was very easy to get coats. Like, everybody was following that line. That little crinkled piece of paper we were talking about that looked like you couldn't tell what it was clear as day now. In this way, out that way. And then there's a nice single file line going down the end, a single file line coming out. People weren't crowded. It was in and out. Get your shit, get out. And it was easy. We grabbed our shit. We're in and out, and we're out on the outside making our way home now. And I guess I did want to save this part to the end because as good as that concert was, that whole experience could have soured my entire mood of the night.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
And I was deeply dreading having to do that. But the security getting in, the getting your coat and getting out, the illusion potentially of, we'll have to look at credit card receipts, but of cheaper drinks made the night as a whole, that was the absolute best time I've had at that venue. And it was with one of the bands I absolutely loved, right? I fucking loved this show so much. It was so good, and it could have easily been destroyed by the shitty venue. And it wasn't shitty this time. I feel like Lamb of God could have been 10 times better if it wasn't for little annoyances with the venue itself. And we talked about that during that podcast, I think. So that's where I wanted to get to with this show is like all the bands were fucking awesome. Amon Amarth fucking killed, one of my favorite bands, hands down. And I can't wait to see them. Aragon has a second shot with me now. Like, if we go again, and we're going soon, I think, within the next month.
Yeah, like a week from
And if it's the same sort of experience we had this time, this might be one of my favorite venues.
In the winter, it might be better. I know during the summer, it's going to be fucking hot again. So I'm dreading going to a concert in the summer.
Yep. And I mean, that's self-imposed. They chose not to turn the air on, right? Or not to have adequate.
Or they just don't have an adequate enough air system for that size of venue.
It is, like we said, it's old as fuck. That's where the gangs used to dance. Anywho, I had a blast. This show was fucking awesome. Everything about it, the bands, everything, so cool. I don't know what your thoughts are, but I loved it.
Yeah, it was good.
It was good. It was fine.
No, it was a great show. I can't wait to see Amon Amarth again.
Yeah, all of these bands.
I mean, I don't have as many feelings as you do, but
they're in the top of my list of one of my favorite bands right now.
I mean, I really enjoy them. I wouldn't say I don't seek out their music. If it comes up on the playlist, I listen to it. But
I seek their music out all
I'm
the
sure
time.
you do. Yeah, there's other bands that I seek out. So.
I know. We've talked about a few on this podcast, on this episode. But
I know I forgot to mention Raven Black. Yep.
Yeah, and Wage War. Did you mention Wage War? Joking. But yeah, I don't know how to end this other than like
bye.
other than bye. No. Live music's awesome. Check it out. check out new bands. You're going to find something you love somewhere out there. So go experience something, have fun.
Bye.
There's your bye.